Blaine Fortin was born and raised in Lundar and started his sports career there. And since Lundar, of course, that led very directly to national teams, to international play, and to professional baseball, and then back home to Lundar, where he has become Manitoba coach, clinician, and committee member, and is very active in his local community. Blaine, let's start with the Diamonds of Lundar, the baseball diamonds, the hockey rinks. What was it like growing up in Lundar, and how did your sports career get started there?
Growing up in Lundar, it's a small town, and we had two sports basically. We had hockey and baseball. Hockey was the primary sport, but most of the kids played both. And most years we just had enough kids to field a team or put the team on the ice. And but Lundar was a very sports-minded town. And if we weren't playing on the field or in the rink, we were on the streets playing road hockey or trying to find enough kids just to have a game. And from there, playing ball in Lundar, I played until I was about 12 years old, until I went to play in Winnipeg. And looking back, I don't remember much of the baseball in Lundar. I just, we played at the school diamonds. There was no fences. We had backstops. That's pretty much all we had. And nobody really cared. It was just fun back then.
The game for the sake of the game.
That's right.
1994 was an interesting year for you. I notice here midget, junior, and senior levels in the Interlake District. What stands out to you in your mind now from those experiences? And I imagine probably the youngest guy on many of those teams.
Yeah, it was a busy year, but I wouldn't change anything. Like if I could play 7 days a week, I was happy. But playing base, my primary team back then was the junior team, and then I played senior when I could and the 18U when I could. But what didn't matter who I was playing for, the effort was still the same, the fun level was still the same. Playing with older guys, you didn't know how they would take having a 16-year-old playing on the same team. But every team I played with, they all accepted me 100%.
You right about here, and I thought 1994 might be the year when you could kind of sense that there might be a career here. When did that really occur to you that maybe this baseball thing had some more to offer you?
I think probably when Troy started to get noticed, 92, 93. He was drafted in 93. So I knew there was some teams kind of looking then, because I was playing on a lot of the same teams Troy was. And but 94, basically was the year where I knew that I had some talent and there was a chance that I could go further in my career.
And then the Toronto Blue Jays called. Not many Manitoba players have that experience of being drafted and being noticed and picked by a team, let alone a team that had just come off a couple of World Series. They were pretty hot commodity at that point in time, and they drafted you in the 6th round. Can you tell us what that was like? What was the experience like?
Draft day was exciting. I don't think I was expected to go that high, but when I got the phone call and they said that we drafted you in the 6th round, it was it was shocking, but you knew your life has just changed and there was something in the future for you, and you're graduating that same year from high school, so you had to make some decisions, and whether you were going to sign or go to school or whatever. So I relied on a lot of information from other people on what I should do, and I eventually signed and I graduated, and the very next day after graduation, I was on a plane to Toronto.
And one of the things you did in Toronto, a little later down the line, was you caught Roger Clemens. I would seriously doubt there's anybody else in Manitoba, perhaps even in Canada, who's a Canadian baseball player who can say that. Tell me about that experience.
Well, that experience was, it's probably one of the biggest highlights of my career. And it came at one of the lowest times because my grandfather just passed away. So I knew he would have loved me to go and catch for Roger Clemens. So it was January '97, and they asked me to come in for 4 days. And the first day, just waiting in the lobby of the Skydome Hotel back then, waiting for Roger Clemens to come off the elevator. You know, I was excited, and you didn't know what to expect. And he come off that elevator and came right up to me, and I think it was Bob Nelson, and shook hands, just like we've known each other for a long time. And then we headed down to the clubhouse and got dressed, and it was real easy.
Yeah.
He made things a lot easier on me. I was nervous, and after a few minutes, it was just like I was playing catch with another minor leaguer.
Yeah. So the nerves went away, like after the first pitch almost.
Oh, for sure. And even before that, we were playing catch in the outfield, and he didn't want to throw it over his head. He didn't want to. He wanted to throw it right to him all the time, and he was so easygoing that it just made things so much easier on me. And it was a great experience. The first day, the media was there. So he was just kind of getting a feel for things and kind of putting on a show, so to say. But the next day, there was nobody. All it was him, the pitching coach Mel Queen, myself, a few other Toronto higher-ups, and he was throwing some fastballs, and it was kind of interesting because he was looking behind me at points in the stadium. He was saying that he would pick out certain points in the stands where he wanted to start his breaking balls, his splitters, and stuff like that. So, you kind of learned a lot about Roger Clemens, how much he actually goes into his routine. It was pretty cool.
So you have this wonderful experience. You're a professional baseball player. Then you have to confront something that happens to professional baseball players, whether we want it to or not, and that's the end of the road.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? Can you tell me about it? How did you feel, and how did you make the transition back?
Well, in '96, I started having knee issues, and I went to see a few doctors, had MRI done. Didn't seem to have any damage done to the knee. But during that off season, it seemed to do well. And in '97, I got invited to the Major League Spring Training, and went through the whole spring training. And then when I got sent down to the minor league cab, you start to catch a lot more. You're doing a lot of bullpen work. Plus, then you got to do your own catching work and blocking balls and stuff like that. And my knee started to flare up again, and so I had it scoped, and then it didn't heal as well as I thought it would, and eventually I just kind of went back to playing. I was kind of sick of sitting there not playing, so I battled through it, and it was doing pretty good there when I was playing in Medicine Hat. I had a good year in Medicine Hat. And then at the end of the season again, it flared up, and I ended up having it scoped in Winnipeg again. And so I went through some physio at the Pan Am Clinic, and it came time to go back to spring training, and they're not sending me back, and I'm asking them to send me back, and no, you're doing well. Keep working with the physiotherapist, and then you get a letter in the mail saying that it's over. So once that happened, yeah, it's devastating. It is devastating. But I actually got on the phone, and I actually called a few other scouts and asked if I could maybe make the transition to pitching and try and get a tryout or something, and that didn't work out. So yeah, I was in the dumps for quite a while, and probably 99, might have been, yeah, it was early in 99. Scott Nealis asked me to come and try out for the Gold Eyes. So that kind of gave me a pick me up, and I started to get in shape again, and I ended up spending the whole season with them. I got in a few games, but
It was a good way to make an exit.
Exactly. Yeah, had a lot of fun with that team.
So now you're transitioning away. Now you're a former major league player, former pro, and now you're back into community baseball, in with the kids and that sort of thing. Tell me about that, and some of your experiences there.
I think it was 2008. I was approached to coach a 13U AAA team, and I hadn't been involved that much up until then. I was playing senior ball before that. And so I agreed to coach. I got certified, and I agreed to coach. And you know what? We ended up going to Westerns that year. And I was coaching. My nephew was on the team, so that was pretty special. And not long after that, it was, I think the plan was to get Blaine's foot in the door, and then start pushing him to other things. So, I think it wasn't long after that I ended up being president of Interlake Minor, and I hung with it for about 8 years. And there's some ups and downs being in that role for sure, but you try to do your best on the best for the kids, and I also became president of Lundar Minor Ball. So I've been over probably around 12 years now, president of Lundar Minor Ball, and coaching teams from Rally Cap right to 18U AAA, and love every minute of it. Every time you can get on a field and you can give some advice to kids, and they look at you like, I want to learn more, and you just keep going with it. And a couple of years ago, Patty Hackholt and Rod Ladahowski asked me to coach the 16U girls provincial team. So I've never coached a girls team before, so I didn't know what to expect, but let's try it. And you know what, I have to admit, I was pleasantly shocked on how those girls work, and they practice hard, and they play hard, and they want to learn, and so for me that really was a benefit for myself.
Whether it's parenting or coaching, I think we draw on our past experiences to form our own opinions and our own approaches to how we interact with young people and how we try to lead and teach. Who in your life, in your career, sort of provided those sorts of things that you draw on now when you coach the teams you coach?
Well, and the first coach I had was my dad,
yeah.
Right? And so he might not have had the coaching skills as the other coaches I've had, but if it wasn't the love of the game was handed down through him, and then from there you have coaches like Gordy Ladahowski, Cal Croy, Don Smith from Legion 141, and then I've had Jeff Robertson and Neil Andrews and Kevin Booker. So they've all had a hand in my past and my accomplishments. And then, when you get to the national level, you had John Haar as the manager of the national team. And then the one guy that I really take a lot from the pro ranks is Rocket Wheeler. He was my first manager as a pro player. And a lot of things that he did and his practices is what I do today. But I'm still on YouTube. I'm still trying to learn, myself as a coach on better ways to do things. But yeah, I definitely look back and all the coaches I had, and you know what, I was pretty lucky.
You still having fun?
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
Blaine Fortin, 2022 inductee into the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame. Well done, man.
Thanks.